Okay, Mario once again with MIA Microflight, and this is the most recent project that I've been working on. This is another go-kart. That's my racing go-kart there, done with EMT tubing or conduit and maker pipe connectors, the yellow one. It's covered with yellow heat shrink tubing. It's really not painted. And it has the same motors as this guy right here. I just finished this guy. I need to cover the seat, so I'm about to do that after this video. But I wanted to capture this as video 10, I believe. So it's complete. I was testing this last night, and it has really good handling. The steering is very precise. It's very solid with these type of spindles that I did, and I showed this in another segment. Video number 7, or no, video number 9, where I show how I did these brackets here and how I attached these to the 1.5-inch metal tubing that this is made from. This is posts for fencing. You can buy these at Home Depot. I just happened to buy a bunch of them, because for another project, but I had some left over. And so I decided to do a go-kart made out of this, kind of similar to the first go-kart that I did with the telescopic tubing, same motors, the scooter motors, repurpose hoverboard, not scooter, but hoverboard motors, zero brushless motors. And I took these apart like I did those. Those don't have the tires because they were going to be inserted into the direct drive, with the wheels like that, big wheels like that. But I just didn't want to risk putting bolts inside the case of the motors and ruin the winding of the motor. So I went direct drive. Not well. It's kind of similar to direct drive because it's got a 1-to-1 ratio with a chain and sprockets, and so that's how I did that one. I talk about that also in another video of that particular go-kart. That one is heavier, so the motors I have a little hard time working this on an incline. This one, however, does not have that issue. And I'm using the same 18-volt Ryobi batteries that I used on that one there. On this one really pulls. It has a lot of power. I think it's because it's less weight than that one by maybe a good 25-30 pounds. That one's heavier than this guy here. They're still, this one is about I would say about maybe 75 pounds, 80 pounds in total weight. I pretty much talk about this every detail here in previous videos. So if you want to see those videos, go check them out. The back. Let me talk about the seat here. The seat is done with also. The footrests. I should talk about that first. They're done with the same tubing, just another T bracket there, and where I put my feet there, and that is to not interfere with the control rods that are for the steering. I could put my feet on the front bar right there, ahead of the control links, but it's a little cumbersome because these things rub underneath your legs, and you don't want that. So I just kept this at 4 feet distance. The center bar is 4 feet. That bar is 2 feet, and this bar right here is 2 feet, just to keep it nice and simple, nice and easy. It has a little bit longer wheel-to-wheel distance than my other go-kart. That one's based on a real go-kart dimensions, and I just kind of mimic that using EMT tubing, with a bender, just a homemade bender. That one has camber as well as caster built into the front end. This one does not have caster or camber. It was just nice and straight, and it was working beautifully. uh, more solid, like I said, on the control because of the way that I'm doing this. Go check out video number 9. I explain a little more on this section here. It's very important, at least for me, to showcase these details in case somebody wants to do something similar. You have that information there. I'm pretty sure somebody will eventually do something similar to what I'm doing. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't mention they just do it, and then they don't say where they're getting those ideas. This I did originally on my not because I've seen something similar, but because of common sense logic. I did that with my telescopic tubing. My first go-kart that was made from telescopic tubing. They had all the perforations there. I didn't have to drill anything there, but I did have to manufacture brackets because these brackets, which they had them in 1 inch on center hole. Um, uh, T brackets with 1 inch center holes, for the telescopic tubing. Unfortunately, they don't make brackets like that, and I searched high and low, to find them. So I reached out to a company that makes this right here, maker pipe connectors, to see if maybe they can manufacture these brackets. I mean, they would be serving a nice chunk of this market that does the telescopic tubing, not this particular tubing. Um, this has to be drilled, but the one that has already perforations with 1 inch with holes at 1 inch center on center increments. So I did that one using a much larger telescopic section of the tubing. I didn't even have to weld anything. I just cut a section of the tubing. I did have to cut the sides, so they would fit like in shape of a C over that. And I did kind of similar to this, and it's very very positive, very and logical and positive way of doing a spindle instead of going, with a welded C bracket that's typically welded on this portion here. So it's less complex from that point. Still a lot of work because there's a lot of drilling. I had to make a jig on my drill press in my shop to do these holes, maintain the center line along the mid point of the width of this tubing. This is 1.5, so at 0.75 is where all these holes are drilled. Exactly, so they all come out the same with the jig, and there's no issues, with fit or things being skewed. So that's one of the things about this tubing. It's excellent tubing, for doing stuff like this. It's very rigid, and the reason I also use this particular tubing, square tubing, is because I wanted to mimic my radio control Robo Kart. It's a radio control kart that RC kart that I did a while back, and I did it very similar, with tubing, like you see it here. Of course, I use 3D printed parts, to do all the mechanical connections, but this is very similar to that setup, and that's what I wanted to achieve with this full scale one. The controls at the back are, just your typical boxes that they come with all the wiring, to connect the motors. I have a brake connected temporarily to a switch here. I was kind of testing this last night as I was running. So when you press this right here, it engages the electronic braking on the motor. So this is connected, by the way, on low brake, because this does have a lead for high brake. I have not tested the high brake. I have to find out and make sure that these wires are indeed for high braking, because one of these controllers, even though they're the same from the same company, came with a different marking. One says high brake, and the other one said, let's see if I can pull this out of here. One said high brake, and the other one said system ground, which is I don't think this is a ground. I think this is a signal for a brake. So until I find out for sure, I don't want to short anything out here. So until I find out exactly what this wire is for, I'm assuming it's high brake because the other one has high brake. I hope they're both high brakes. That way I can connect them both in parallel and connect it to another, or connected to another switch, for low brake and high brake. This one, the go-kart still runs, it still moves as you're braking here, but eventually it comes to a stop. It's not like a mechanical brake where you step on the brake and it stops immediately. That takes a little while. So that's from a safety standpoint. If you have to brake quickly, that's not going to cut it, but it does slow down the motors. So either connect the high brake, making sure that both lines are indeed high brake, I don't know how that is going to stop this, or whether it's going to stop it immediately. And if not, then I'm going to have to go with a mechanical brake, either to, I can't put it here because I want to keep this clean. I want to keep these motors. I don't want to modify these motors here. And so the mechanical breaker will probably have to go on the on those wheels. Those are Razor E100 front wheels that I took out and mounted them because they're the same diameter as these wheels right here. They're 200 by 50 millimeters. Is the right there's 200 by 50, the same as the other one, 250. So they're both the same diameter. But those being plastic hubs, they're kind of cheesy, and so I ordered some nice ones, some aluminum ones. So at least it matches, aluminum with aluminum hub here, even though the pattern's different. Those should be coming in. I was expecting them yesterday, but Amazon said, they're going to be delivered today, so they'll probably deliver those at night. So another day, I guess I have to wait. But this is running very, very nice. I'm so happy with the way this came out. And it's because it's very simple. Sometimes simplicity is the key. That one it's got complex bends. It took me a lot of thought process and a lot of making sure that my angles were right there with a homemade bender. I have that in another video. Where, if you go to MIA tube bender, EMT tube bender, you'll probably find that video how I did that. As well as the round steering wheel. That's all bent. This is all bent on a homemade bender. It's a lot more work. I mean, I did it just to have the shape of the go-kart. I could buy these things, but what's the fun in buying? I like building things. I like tinkering with things. And if you're like me, you'll probably appreciate, this type of work that goes into, building something from the bottom up. Even though that is inspired, that may look like a real go-kart and it was purchased. It's not. It's built based on dimensions of a real go-kart. With my own tricks and details, modifications here and there, and you almost have to do that, when you do it. When you do, do it yourself, custom setups here, especially if you're repurposing motors like I'm doing here. These hoverboard motors. I've never seen a go-kart of that caliber, done with these motors like I'm doing here. So these are one of a kind. Same thing here with this guy, and even my telescopic go-kart that I did a much shorter version because this is 4 feet, like I said, from wheel to wheel, center line to center line. The telescopic one was 3 feet from wheel to wheel. It was much more compact and much more. It wasn't as elaborate. Not as elaborate, but it wasn't as clean as this one. So I did that one really quick and dirty. I didn't even have real ball links. I kind of made my own links with that fiber reinforced tubing, just because it flexes, and so that was those were my ball links actually. But it worked, for a while. I took that one apart to reuse these motors that came from there. This controller came from there. The wiring is it's a spaghetti of wires here, and this has to be cleaned up. I just taped this for the time being. I'm going to clean this a little bit more and make a cover here so that everything's covered and everything is protected and safe, from shorting. This is my cord connector to my Ryobi. I have two Ryobi 18 volt 4 amp hour batteries. Some brand new ones. I was running this. They run at fully charged. I think it's like 40 volts. Even though it should be 30. Well, 36 is nominal, but when they're fully charged, they're about 42 volts. And so I have those in series. This seat right here, this is my covering material that I'm going to manufacture the cover for this. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to just make I was going to do a sleeve, but what I'm going to do here is just do a cover with an elastic band around the edges here so that I can just tie it in the back, and if this goes dirty or bad, I can easily replace that without having to take out the full seat. This seat is manufactured from aluminum. This was an aluminum sheet that was part of a wheelchair that my neighbor gave me a long time ago. He was going to throw it out, and I said, "Why don't you let me have it? I could use the motors. I never use the motors because they're really, really heavy motors, heavier than these, a lot, twice as heavy as these, and they're really bulky. So, but I'll find a project for those. But parts, from like the seat, some metal, the tubing, I've been using that on and off, on different things. And so I decided to take this metal plate, as you can see it here. This was the back actually of the seat, and it had a very shallow curve to it. And so what I did, because you can see these lines right here, those was part of the original back plate. So what I did is I bent this a little more, and I turned it at 90 degrees so that I can use this as a seat. And it's bolted down to two strips of same tubing. This 1.5 inches square tubing is underneath here, under each section here where these bolts are at, kind of settle mount over the center tube right here. And I have that attached with a quick disconnect through this base right here has I don't know about I think I've made like 6 holes there so that I can adjust the seat back and forth. But it's more permanent, once you put that bolt with a quick release lever lock. It's on the other side. You won't see it from here, but that's how I did that. And so this aluminum is kind of it's almost like a steel plate that has a little flex, but it doesn't bend. It flexes, but it doesn't bend easily. So if I put my weight here, it'll spring right back up. It's not going to bend it. This foam right here came from the same thing here. I had to pull this out from the release it from the glue in order to access this and drill the holes. But it's just going back on. This is going back on. This actually this goes like this, I believe. Yeah. So, like I said, I had to turn this at 90 degrees, and that's my seat. It doesn't have a high back, but I don't really need it. It's pretty comfortable the way it is. And then this is the material that I had this roll of material. It's almost like a rubbery cover. I don't know what they call this material, but I use this for foosball tables. In green, I use this is the cover for the table. And it's great material because it's got this rubbery backing to it. This, I believe, is nylon, kind of a nylon mesh. It's a very tight-knit mesh. And so I'm going to manufacture my cover from there, and it'll look really cool. It'll look pretty spiffy. So it'll pretty much look like that. Not as wide because, I have to wrap it around that metal plate. This is going to have, I already put this clamp here for a light, one of those lights that I have in one of those scooters right there. I have another light there. This has the voltage reading, but I think I'm going to put a panel here so that I can put something a little more that'll give me more data, voltage, amperage, power, that type of thing. Battery capacity, all that can be embedded in a very, very low profile panel here. I'm going to angle this right here, and I'm going to have buttons, main switch, with of course that's it's probably going to have a direct fuse in line, with the power, just in case. Although the batteries, the Ryobi batteries, the sockets have their own fuses, individual fuses, and they all have their own switches. I'm just going to put it here in the panel. In addition to having brake, these buttons, for high brake, low brake. I need reverse here. It's very convenient to have reverse. These controllers do have reverse, and they also have another connector here that you can attach. You can attach a 3-way switch or 3-position switch for high, low, and just average high and low speed. So if you want to go slower, you can adjust it via it's almost like a potentiometer, like a speed control, but that'll reduce it even further.